Okay, so women empowerment on one side, and this very same people looking to push young girls over the edge. Makes no sense, but it's happening. Okay, so if you have been following the news recently, you might have seen the news of a child of a former cricketer who grew up like a boy, just like any other, and suddenly just decided that flip a coin, we're wanting to actually be a young girl now, and now is asking to compete with girls in cricket. Now, there would always be a set of people who would be willing to justify and willing to shield these kind of people, saying it's a matter of choice, and if it's a matter of choice, then they should be allowed to do whatever they want to. And to a certain extent, with regards to feelings and all, I can understand that. But when your rights or your choices actually encroach on other people's choices, we start to have a problem with that. So, uh, where does this actually come in? Number one, we're talking about a person who grew up as a young boy. So, all the advantages that young boys have with respect to better muscle mass and everything. So, keep in mind there's like a very specific reason why there are boys tournaments and girls tournaments, because literally we're talking about the two genders being very separate and very different from each other. So all sports, be it tennis or cricket or football, you're always looking at boys competing with boys and girls competing with girls, and there's a very sensible biological reason for that. When that starts changing, things start getting a little hazy, and that's this current scenario, especially when you're looking at people who switched teams. So you're looking at a young boy who had all the testosterone filled energy and better muscle mass and better training, better and years of training with respect to being a young man. And yes, like they say, they are going through the hormonal treatment, and technically they would be considered as a woman. So hormonal treatment and chemically they can be considered, yes, a woman. But look at it from the point of view of regular girls. So from their point of view, uh, we're looking at a person who probably would have been average at best amongst the men, but they now step into the women's tournament and they're not just competing. In many cases, they're literally bulldozing the entire competition, where they're creating new records. If you look at the West, there are like countless examples of trans women, or they call themselves women and they want to be called as women, but very clearly they were a, a young man a couple of months ago. So now they're coming and they're actually steamrolling regular girls, and who is to ask what happens to them? So you're looking at many young girls who would have trained years, and they would have been hoping for a scholarship at college, or they would have been hoping to get one of the chances to get into the Olympics or wherever it is that they were competing for. Suddenly, they can't, just because there was a person who uh, couldn't compete with the men. And again, personal choices, but they made the choice to actually not be a boy anymore, had the surgeries granted, but now they're actually competing with girls who've been girls all their life. And you're looking not only at the fact that in terms of outright competition, the actual girls, they stand no chance. And secondly, the level of discomfort it actually creates. Forget the scholarships and the lack of opportunities and the years of training going into nothing. They even demand to use a women's restroom and everything, every single thing that a young lady should be having. They demand that. And the problem comes in there. So We're talking about young girls who feel severely uncomfortable having a person who had been a guy just a few months ago walking into their personal spaces, private spaces. And on one side, this seems totally wrong, but on the other side, what feels even worse is there are so many people who are actually supporting this, be it the West and now here too. So think about it. This is something that uh, could happen in the near future to your sister, your daughter, your friends. So is this something that they need to deal with? Because they already are dealing with quite a bit. Uh, this is an unnecessary complication which I believed belonged only to the West. And yes, there are so many things that we can actually learn from other countries, or say the so called developed countries. This shouldn't be one of them. So, yeah, God save us all.